What concert or show are you legitimately sad you'll never get to experience because the group or person is either broken up or dead? I'm convinced that the Beatles would have eventually done something together musically again had Lennon not been lost in 1980. Ming to an end. Harrison and Starr would have signed on, I think. And I think they would have taken the opportunity to play their music properly in a live venue. With state-of-the-art sound and lighting, they would have been in a position to mount the most incredible show the world had seen. Foo Fighters. I had killer seats to the show near me in October 2020 thanks to a city pre-sale opportunity that a friend offered us. The show was rescheduled, but we couldn't get the city perk again, so tickets were more than double the price the second time around. My husband and I couldn't justify $1,000 or more on concert tickets, so we passed on going. Then Taylor died. It seems like the universe is telling me I shouldn't see them live or something. Not because they're broken up or dead, but I would have loved to experience Motley Crue or Guns N' Roses at their peak. 89-90. I can imagine those shows were incredibly fun and energetic. Both of those bands are pretty much hollowed out husks of what they used to be now. I mean, they are getting old. I saw Crue in like 07, and Vince was already wheezing his way through songs then. And I know it's gotten laughably bad recently. I turned it down because I was only 15. Didn't want to travel on bus myself, and mainly because chose to spend money on pair of new training shoes instead, as there will be other chances to see Queen. Nearly 40 years later, the words Diodorus sub co-heroes still make me shudder. They were good trainers. But still. Children of Bodom. TBH, I have seen them. I would have liked to see them again. Maybe sober this time so I can actually remember something. Rip Wildchild. Another one is Nightwish. I grew up close to where they hail from, so in the beginning they had smaller gigs around me, and a small Nightwish concert would have been doper. Not really that into the whole stadium concert thing. Close and personal is the way to go. Probably not a typical choice, but a Japanese band called T-Square. A reunion concert scheduled at Blue Note. Getting tickets seemed impossible. On a lucky break, I snagged a front row table seat. I was excited to go with my husband and niece and nephew. In April 2020, show got cancelled. 1 year later, the original pianist Hirotaka Izumi passed away. Still super bummed about it. I was set to see Nina Simone. In order to ensure I'd get tickets, I became a member of the Geffen Playhouse for $5,000. The ticket was around $200,400. She was the last of the Billie Holiday era. A living legend I'd get to see in person. Like literally seeing Billie Holiday, an original. 3 weeks before the concert she got ill and it was postponed. She dies. I was heartbroken. Nirvana. They were on tour in my city a few months before Kurt Cobain died. My friend invited me, but I turned down the opportunity because I was busy with Christmas. I told him that I would go next time. There would never be a next time. I learned a very important life lesson from that incident. Live for today because we're not guaranteed a next time. I got to see half of a Type O negative set because I wore shitty shoes and was getting crushed by horny middle-aged women. IF was 18 at the time, and right at the front rail, thought to myself, it's fine, I'll see them again. Peter Steele died like 6 months later, and I'm still kicking myself about it almost 20 years later. I would have loved to see Dire Straits play live. I'm too young to have been able to see them live. Occasionally I put on the night and imagine how it would have been to have witnessed that live. The other two are Genesis and Elton John. I still regret not going to their goodbye shows when they were in my country. Faye Wong, because she's one of my favorite artists ever. But she is mostly retired now. I'm from Canada and she last came here in the 90s. When I was a kid and before she made all of her best music. She last toured in 2010-2012 and that was only in Asia. Mostly in China, where she's from. I will never get to see her. Talking Heads would be cool. There's still hope, as all the OG members are still alive, but it sounds to me like they'd rather not perform together anymore. My sister and I are huge Tom Petty fans. We had tickets to see him, but he sadly passed a few weeks before the show. That one hit the hardest. I wish I would have gotten to see B.B. King. Had a chance to see him, but bailed for some stupid reason. He died a year later. Also, Motorhead. I attempted to see them at the end. It was when he was cancelling all those shows right before he died. I got into them way too late, kicking myself for that one. Foo Fighters W. Taylor. I've thankfully seen them a few times before, but the last tour was the first in a long time. I had tickets and everything for the Toronto show and then he passed. Foo Fighters are still going to go on, but it won't be the same without Taylor's energy. I saw Led Zeppelin in '77, in Tampa. They played 4 songs. Then the rest of the show was cancelled due to a hellacious thunderstorm. I'm glad I got to see them. I'm sad I didn't get to experience a full show. I'm still a little bummed about it. I almost saw the Tragically Hip at one of their last shows in London, Ontario. I didn't go because the person I asked didn't want to go. I held it against them for a minute, until I realized I could have just gone alone. It's not their fault, it's mine. Prince. I had a friend who lived in Minneapolis, and we would always joke about just showing up at Paisley Park after the clubs on Saturday night for one of his impromptu party shows. But we never did. I wish we would have tried at least once. If 3 consecutive and amazing albums from mid-2000s to early 2010s then vanished into thin air for over a decade and were never the same again. Saddest thing for electronic music for a long time. Nirvana. You friends drive from Northern Ontario to Minneapolis, Minnesota to see Nirvana with the Breeders, and I passed on the chance, thinking they were supposed to be on Lollapalooza the next year or something. Regret City. INXS. My husband got to see them in a small venue right after Kick dropped in Louisville, KY. I'm so jealous. He said he was feet from Michael Hutchence. He said it was an utterly incredible experience. I cheaped out and didn't buy tickets to Boston Calling in 2016. The lead singer for Frightened Rabbit died like 16 months later. Since then, I've decided I would never cheap out on concert tickets ever again. Type O negative, Woods of Ypres. Ronnie James Dio. I was mourning Agalloch so hard that I almost flew to Germany to see them, but only had to go as far as Denver from PA when they reunited for limited shows. I saw Peter Gabriel this most recent tour. I was to my first Genesis concert in 1976. I never saw Genesis with PG. I also would have preferred to see Jethro Tull when Ian Anderson's voice was still alive. Although I've seen the Ramones, it sucks that they are gone, and I will never get to see either again. I try to explain to my kids what a force of nature they were live, but I wish I could show them in person. Rush. I had always meant to see them. My brother was the manager for a music venue in Maryland and would get to meet them anytime they played there. I kept telling myself I will see them. Then Neil died. AC/DC with Bon Scott would have been fantastic. Also the original lineup of the Who. I would also really like to see System of a Down without flying to Vegas and paying $300 for a one-day festival pass. Alice in Chains. I know they are still a band and their post-Lane albums are excellent, but they are the only 90s that I never got a chance to see back in the heyday that I feel like I missed out on. I'm going to narrowly avoid this by seeing KMFDM on Thursday. I've been a fan for 25 years but haven't had a chance to see them live. Captain K is 61, he's a machine. One day even he will retire. Dr. John. He came to my Canadian city for a festival, and there was still tickets on the day of the concert. But I was exhausted and slept. Thought there'd be another chance, but he died a while later. Van Halen did a reunion tour a few years back. The venue was only an hour away, and I could have gotten tickets for like $75. But I didn't have the money at the time. Eddie died the following year. Tipper. Not because he's dead, but he is retiring next year and only seems to play festivals that cost hundreds of dollars to attend instead of normal gigs that the average fan can afford. Hole. I know she still uses the name Hole and just recently said something about being back with Hole, but not the same. Would love to have seen Hole perform with Kristen Pfaff. 1993-ish. Beastie Boys. Always loved their music and only I shot that concert video, which is as close as I'll ever be to seeing them live. Just looks like it'd be a great time to see them live. Prince. He came through my city, and I thought about going, but didn't want to spend the money on the tickets and assumed I'd see him the next time. Biggest regret of my music-loving life. An original Butthole Surfers concert. before my time. They lost their spontaneity, and they aren't even touring anymore. I have heard their concerts were insane. In the literal definition, RZ always wanted to see him growing up, but rightfully my parents kept me away from festivals in my early years and his concerts were never close to us. Now he's retired and I'm 25. System of a Damn. They're still around and do shows, but they hate the East Coast. Wild that I was able to see Rammstein live before them. Kinda sours my opinion of the band overall. Avicii. If I could go back in time, I'd go back to either his UMF13 where he premiered his debut album True with a live band, or UMF16 set which has his most iconic demos. I would have loved to have been present at Daft Punk's 2007 Alive concert in Berkeley, and I'm sad that Savage Garden had a bad breakup that they never seem to have gotten over. Linkin Park. Gravity Kills. Metallica not broken up dead, but doubt I'll ever get to experience one of their concerts. Soundgarden. Beastie Boys. Tom Petty. Type O Negative. Motley Crue in their prime. KISS in their prime. Eminem throwing him in since he doesn't really do many shows anymore. And Journey are the one that immediately come to mind. George Carlin. Could have seen him in 2000 with the guy I was dating at the time. We got in a fight that day, and I ended up not going. One of the biggest regrets of my life. I saw the Flaming Lips in 2002, or 03 for $20. Now, the cheapest, shittiest tickets for them are at least $200. It kind of feels like I'll never see them play live again.